All right, we are back with another pick'em video. Going to be going over my favorite plays for the NBA today. It's a 6 or 7 game slate and some fun games. We got the Timberwolves versus the Pacers. We got Boston versus Denver. Obviously, that'll be a fun one. But I've also got some really good lines that I'm liking. We'll talk two plays that are kind of just normal plays. We got a fantasy score play and then a PRA play, and then two dunk lines that look incredible, something I've been riding all year. But yeah, super excited about the picks today. But if you're new here, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Leave the video a like and comment anything down below. Also, going to start doing this. If this video gets 150 likes, I'm going to give away a free month of the Discord. So you got to comment down below that will enter you into that. But I want to try to give back more to you guys as this community continues to grow. So try to get this to 150 likes. Comment anything down below, and I'll just pick a random comment if it does that. But awesome day yesterday. I mean, decent day. We doubled up in the Discord. I don't think I gave out Kobe White, but I kind of alluded to him in the video. And then Suggs was my favorite play of the day. He crushed his line. Giddy was that discount. He crushed his line, almost doubled up. Paolo dunks happened early, and D'Angelo Russell is making his way to the ban list here. He didn't want to play last night. Watching the game, it was almost frustrating how lackadaisical. Also, that was the weirdest game I've ever seen. The Lakers go up 20. I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully they don't blow them out. But D'Lo is kind of doing his thing early, and then the Kings go on like a 30-0 run or something crazy. End up winning the game by 10. But weird game. D'Lo looked totally checked out. The Lakers looked checked out, really, especially in like that third quarter. But D'Lo was on a bunch of my slips. A difficult day yesterday because our hit rate was so good individually, but just ended up getting screwed on like a 10x. Thought we had it. D'Lo was the last leg there for us in this 10x, and then a couple other slips with D'Lo in it. So he was enemy number one yesterday, but decent day. Video picks went. I think I gave out 4 of these, so 3 for 4. Definitely solid, but we got a really good board today. So let's jump into the picks. All right, so the first guy I want to talk about is going to be Dennis Schroder, the German. Going to go to his fantasy score, so that's a little bit of a perk of these videos coming out a little bit later. We can attack the full board, and fantasy scores just dropped. So I was looking at his 6.5 assists. Looks like it's a popular play. I think he has a great matchup against Detroit, but his fantasy score is a little bit better in terms of what I'm thinking. And the Nets are totally banged up. They got a bunch of guys out. But let's just jump into his outlier page. This is Outlier. You can get a free trial on the link in the description. Just lets them know that I sent you there. But it's a 7-day free trial, so it's actually pretty dope. And if you don't like it, you can just go ahead and cancel it. But we see Schroder here pulling up his page again. Brooklyn dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. I can find his fantasy score right here. And we see the hit rate's not going to be incredible. 60% of the last 10, he's gone under this. We want to switch this to the over. But he's hitting 4 straight. So why is that? He's getting the minutes. 27, 34, 37, 34. He's expected to get 34 minutes again today. So I like the minutes. He's been productive in those minutes. He's a vet. He knows how to play, run the point guard position. Either him or Dennis Smith Jr., whichever one's going to be the point guard. But he's definitely been very involved in the past 4 games. Those are all games without Cam Thomas. If we want to jump over to the injuries, those are all games without Cam Thomas. Those are all games without Ben Simmons, I believe, who's now out for the season. Also, no Cameron Johnson today. So he's a scoring point guard, but he can also dime the ball. He can get a few rebounds. If he goes out there and gets a block or steal for us, that'd be great. And again, I talked about the matchup, or I alluded to the matchup here. They're going up against, where are they? Oh, Fantasy Score doesn't show up. But they're going up against, I'll go to his PRA for a second, Detroit, who gives up a whole bunch of stats, across the board, really. Points allowed, rebounds allowed, assists allowed. I guess rebounds and assists are more middle of the road, but a whole bunch of points to be had in this one. And then the blocks and steals, too. If you can go get a steal or a block for us, that'd be great as well. And they give up a whole bunch of those. So in terms of fantasy score, a whole bunch of opportunity and stats for him to get today. And with 34 minutes, he should have a decent amount of runs. So really liking this. Again, I'll show you the board real quick before we get off this. But we want to go to his fantasy score. Again, 4 straight games. We can look at 2023 as a whole. Obviously started the season on Toronto. But he's able to get there when he gets the minutes. It almost lines up perfectly with the amount of minutes he's getting and the green here, especially once he got to Brooklyn. Not a lot of minutes. And then when he's getting them, he's getting green. So I expect him to be very involved. Easy matchup against Detroit. Should stay close. I get a minus 2.5 point spread. But yeah, liking Schroder today. And the market value is liking this one as well. This is DG Fantasy. You can get 25% off your first month. Highly recommend doing this, guys. If you don't know about a sport, you can literally bet on that sport just based on where you're getting market value. This is pointing out, hey, this is a line on PrizePicks. Their fixed payout system you can take advantage of. If you see a line on PrizePicks and it's minus 130 odds or minus 140 odds everywhere else in the market, that's the lines you want to be attacking. So we see Schroder here. I talked about his assist line at 6.5. They're loving this line, 54% chance to hit. And why is that? Well, it's because Pinnacle has this at minus 135. You can take advantage of the fixed payout system on PrizePicks, getting these great lines. DraftKings has this at minus 140. These are my favorite two of the data points. So that assist line is definitely screaming my name, but really liking the fantasy score, 52.78% chance to hit. Not as many data points to look at for fantasy score, but good to see DraftKings is a whole point above this. And then BetMGM is also at 30.8. So loving that. And then our last data point we like to look at over here is our projection model. And we see actually just moved up even a little bit more. But the projection model is saying here's his fantasy score. This is RotoWire, by the way. Definitely check them out. You can use the link in the description. But fantasy score, they're loving it. Not a whole lot of overs they're liking here for Schroder, but fantasy score is one of them. 30.0 line for us. They're expecting 32.61. So everything pointing the right direction for Schroder here. Maybe if this gets bumped, or if you don't want to go to fantasy scores or you can't go to fantasy scores, maybe look at his 6.5 assists because I like that as well. But I think Schroeder's got a good spot for a good game today against Detroit. And then the next line I was going to go to was going to be that PRA line I alluded to at the beginning of this video. But as I look into it a little bit more, I'm not as all in as I was previously. So I'm going to save that one for the Discord. It's definitely a play that I'm going to be playing. And I'm confident in it, hitting, but not as confident as I was as I looked a little bit deeper. So don't want to give you guys a pick that I'm not, fully in on. But this one I am. It's going to be my pivot play, and it's going to be Anthony Edwards. Obviously, a very popular play today because Karl-Anthony Towns is now out with a meniscus tear for a while. So Edwards is going to soak up a whole lot of usage. We've seen him play 2 games without Towns, and he crushed it in those 2 games. So if you want to go to Edwards, I think there's a few different ways. Right now, the positive EV play is going to be his PRA on his over, and then also his fantasy score just popped up. Haven't been able to look too far into this, but this one's looking really good too at 43.5. I'm liking that fantasy score. But the one I did look into is going to be our pivot here, and it's going to be his 2.5 3-pointers made if I can find that. Also like his dunks line if you want to be looking at that. But 2.5 3-pointers made, that is the one I'm going to be going to. Let's go over to his page. I have his fantasy score line just popped up because I took a glance. These are the 2 games without Towns, that fantasy score. So in a high scoring or a fast paced game against the Pacers, relative to what the Timberwolves usually play, they're a very defensive team. A lot of their games are very low scoring. But this Pacer team loves to run. So in terms of games that you like, a matchup that's going to be a fast paced game, an opportunity to get a whole lot of stats, it's going to be this Pacers game. So I like the fantasy score. Might be something I go to for sure. But I looked more into the 3-pointers made line. So I want to look at his 46% hit rate on the season, so nothing too crazy. And also want to point out Indiana does not give up a whole bunch of threes. They're ranked number 1 in not allowing 3-pointers. So 2 notes to give right there. Again, if you want to go to fantasy score, I don't mind that as well. But do you want to look at the attempts and then the attempts with Towns in the lineup? So we see 6.7 attempts per game on average the entire season. If we want to look at the past 10 games, it's been very consistent, 7.3, so right around that area. But again, without Towns, that's the biggest thing here. So we see Towns, he hasn't played 2 games this year, and we see he got over in both of those games. He had 3 back in December, and then he had 4 back in February a few weeks ago. So love to see that hit rate. And then the almost more importantly is the attempts. He's shooting 11 attempts per game in those 2 games. 12 back in December, 10 back in February. So he's definitely jacking them up. Going to be settling for these shots sometimes. If you get tired, you have the ball in your hands a whole lot. You're going to be settling for some threes. He's just got to knock them down. 25% clip in that 12 3-point attempt game, and then 40% from 3 in that 10 attempt game. So I like the volume in 3-pointers he takes when Towns is out. And then also we want to talk about that matchup. First in the league in terms of 3-pointers made allowed, but these guys did face off against each other earlier in the year. These both were from 2022, so I'm not looking too much into that. But this was back in that December game, and he had 7 3-pointers against these guys, 7 of 10 shooting. So he was able to, knock them down against this tough Indiana defense in terms of 3-pointers made. It's not even tough Indiana defense. It's more that they play so fast that it's a lot of fast break scoring rather than 3-point shooting. But good to see Edwards had 70 of these things back against these guys. And again, without Towns, he's hitting both games. So I like this 2.5 3-pointers made line. If you want to go to fantasy score, you can see the head-to-head right here. He had that against these guys with 50.4 back in December. So again, I'm almost talking myself into that fantasy score line as well. But I think both are great. Obviously, without Towns, he hit in both of those games as well. So Edwards obviously should have a good game today. And the odds are like in this too, the market value. No, I talked a little bit longer than I should have in this Anthony Edwards line, but trying to get the point across here. But we see it under on his rebounds line, something I probably wouldn't touch, especially with Towns out. But then we see that 40.5 PRA. That's popping up as a positive EV play. Pinnacle's got this at minus 121. FanDuel's already jumped this to 41.5. Under on blocks and steals, yeah, if you want to go to that, I guess that's kind of positive EV here. Edwards and Halliburton 3-point combo on the under. Interesting to see that. But then we do see that 3-pointers made combo, or not combo. His 3-pointers made at 2.5 is favored on the over here slightly. Minus 124 on Pinnacle, minus 120 on DraftKings, minus 138 over on FanDuel. So odds are definitely favoring it. And then if we want to look at the points combo, all these different things, but fantasy score, I also want to point out slightly on the over here. 43.5 is the line we're getting at. But then DraftKings has us at 43.7, 43.6 on BetMGM or whatever this is. So a whole lot of talking about Anthony Edwards, but I think he's got a great spot here and wanted to give you a few options to go to him. And then in terms of his projection model, in terms of that 40.5 line that the EV's liking, they are projected on the under, so that's something to point out. But in terms of fantasy score, they are on the over here. So like to see that. And then also the 3-point line, we like at a little bit over, just teeny weeny a little bit. They're expecting 2.66. So Anthony Edwards, again, I almost talked myself into that fantasy score line, but we'll lock in 2.5 3-pointers made. I like them both a lot. And as I look a little bit farther into it, I'm loving this fantasy score line for Edwards. So if you don't like the 2.5 3-pointers line, absolutely take this at 43.5. I think it's great value, and he should have a great game today. So that's unfortunately going to have to be our only 2 or 3 picks, I guess, 2.5 picks. Because the 2 dunk lines that I was super excited about did get taken off the board. And that does happen. We always attack value over here on this channel, and especially like in our Discord community. But it was going to be Gobert and Claxton for both their dunk lines. If they're there, go ahead and take them. But we can check them out right here. Claxton over 1.5 dunks, 73% hit rate on the year, 90% of his last 20 games. And we talked about Dennis Schroder having injuries. Or not Dennis Schroder having injuries, but that team having injuries. There's no Cam Thomas, there's no Cam Johnson, and there's no Ben Simmons. So Claxton in the last 4 games is averaging like 4 dunks per game. This line's usually 2.0, and I still take the over. So it was crazy value at 1.5. Same thing for Gobert here. Obviously, a credible hit rate all throughout the year. But without Towns, he's averaging 5.5 dunks in those 2 games without Towns. And he's got a high-paced game against Indiana, which he hit in that last previous matchup. So was loving both these. Was excited to give these out for you guys. But it's a good time to shout out the Discord for that reason almost. Go to our PrizePicks plays. We can see that we did take this over here. We got him in a 2-man. We actually had him in a 5-man as well. But Gobert and Claxton, if you want access to all these plays before they get bumped, sometimes I make a video and I have to upload it and edit it, and it takes a little bit of time to get it out. And by the time I get it out, one play might be bumped, two plays might be bumped. So if you want access to any of these plays or all the plays that I make before I even start making the YouTube video, I post them all in the Discord. And we have a whole lot of fun in here. You can get in here for $20 a month, or if you want to use any of my codes or links, they're all right here. PrizePicks, Underdog, Chalkboard, Sleeper, Dabble. I highly recommend all of those platforms. And they all have their own perks. So, Underdog has Freaky Friday. They give us discounts on Friday. PrizePicks obviously has Taco Tuesday. They give us discounts on Tuesday. They also have Flex Friday. All these different websites have certain days or randomly they'll give you discounts, and that's when you want to take advantage of them. And it's kind of the perk of having them in themselves. So 100% deposit matches on a lot of these, up to $500 on Sleeper is crazy. Dabble is a new guy on the block, but they'll give you $10 just by making an account. And you get a free month for any amount of codes. If you use all 5 of them, you'll get a free month or you get free 5 months. Also, DG Fantasy is part of this. So that's the tool I was using right here. If you want to check that out, you get 25% off your first month. And you get in the Discord for free for a month. So if you want to use any of these, I highly recommend them. Take advantage of them, and just send me a DM. Say, hey, I used your code, and I will say, yeah, of course, I can get you in the Discord for a month or 2 months or 3 months, however many codes you use. But yeah, we're just a bunch of normal people in here, normal dudes just trying to beat the books together, putting our brain power together. I think a few of us are going to be getting into our voice chat today and talking plays, kind of either at night or before the games start. But we have a whole bunch of fun in here. Obviously, a decent amount of success too. That's the whole reason I make these videos. And it's not just my lines. People share their slips. We have some seasoned chefs, as I like to call them, in here that are always dropping plays. And yeah, whole lot of fun. Definitely check us out. But yeah, was excited to give those dunk lines out, but unfortunate that they got bumped. But that's all I got for you guys. 2.5, I guess, plays. Dennis Schroder over his fantasy score. Anthony Edwards over 2.5 3-pointers made. And then Anthony Edwards' fantasy score also looking really good. And then before we go, I do want to shout out the Instagram page I started. I've posted 6 reels in 6 days, so would definitely appreciate a follow. Have a whole lot of fun making them, but they definitely take a long time. So go check them out. They're different video picks from YouTube, so they're going to be, well, usually attacking sleeper or chalkboard over there. But yeah, go give it a follow. And yeah, that's going to do it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Definitely like the video. Again, if this gets to 150 likes, I will be giving a free month of the Discord to anyone that comments. I'll be picking a random comment. So comment, like the video, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys tomorrow.